Early professional and amateur era tennis began as an amateur sport, with Wimbledon crowning its first champion Spencer Gore in 1877. Early competitions were to promote the sport, and there was no prize money, making the sport accessible mostly to enthusiasts and upper-class participants. Turning professional during this time meant exclusion from prestigious tournaments, which kept the sport largely amateur for decades. Bill Tilden dominated the 1920s, winning multiple Grand Slam titles and becoming tennis's first household name. In his prime, he became known for his immaculate strategy, power, and unmatched charisma that elevated the sport, attracting audiences and turning tennis into a true spectator experience. Women's tennis developed alongside men's. Legends like Suzanne Lenglen and Helen Wills Moody brought unmatched precision, athleticism, and competitive spirit, transforming the women's game into a compelling spectacle. The 1930s saw Fred Perry capture consecutive Wimbledon titles, drawing international attention to the sport, while Don Budge's historic Grand Slam in 1938 showcased that consistency, skill, and tactical intelligence were essential for greatness. These pioneers laid the groundwork for professional tennis, establishing the foundation for what would eventually become the Open Era and the global sport we know today. The Open Era. The Open Era's arrival in 1968 completely transformed tennis. Before this, amateurs played in majors while professionals toured separately, limiting the sport's true competitive potential. Suddenly, players of all levels could meet in the same tournaments, and stars like Rod Laver, Ken Rosewall, and Margaret Court thrived. Laver's incredible 1969 Grand Slam, winning all 4 majors in one calendar year, set a new benchmark for greatness, proving that dominance across all surfaces required unmatched consistency, focus, and adaptability. Margaret Court's achievements highlighted the depth of women's tennis, showing that skill and determination transcended gender and laid the groundwork for a more competitive future. Meanwhile, technology played its part in revolutionizing how the game was played and judged. The introduction of metal and composite rackets allowed for more power and spin, and the tiebreaker changed match dynamics, emphasizing mental resilience under pressure. Prize money increased dramatically, turning tennis into a legitimate professional career. Billie Jean King's 1973 Battle of the Sexes went beyond the court. It was a cultural milestone. Her victory over Bobby Riggs symbolized the rise of women's independence in sports, and the creation of the WTA gave female players control over their careers. On the men's side, aggressive baseline players like Jimmy Connors brought a new intensity to matches, combining raw power with tactical intelligence that energized fans around the world. The Golden Age era. The late 1970s into the 1980s saw a dramatic clash of styles and personalities. Björn Borg's icy, methodical baseline game contrasted sharply with John McEnroe's fiery, unpredictable artistry at the net. Their 1980 Wimbledon final became legendary, a battle of temperament, strategy, and raw skill that captivated audiences. Borg's precision and endurance forced McEnroe to rely on brilliance and improvisation, creating one of tennis's most iconic rivalries. On the women's side, rivalries such as Chris Evert versus Martina Navratilova combined consistency, athleticism, and psychological warfare, pushing both players to new heights and keeping fans on the edge of their seats. Youth began making a splash too. Teenagers like Boris Becker shocked the world by winning Wimbledon at just 17, proving that talent and fearlessness could topple experience. Tracy Austin added tactical sophistication to the women's game, while Ivan Lendl introduced a scientific approach to training, focusing on fitness, nutrition, and mental preparation. This period made tennis more than just a sport. It became a spectacle where entertainment, strategy, and athleticism combined. Every match told a story, and every tournament showcased a mix of emerging talent and seasoned champions, setting the stage for modern tennis and the intense rivalries that continue to define the sport today. 90s transformation era. Ivan Lendl redefined professional tennis with a focus on precision, preparation, and relentless consistency. Dominating hard courts, Lendl's meticulous training routines, fitness regimens, and mental discipline set new benchmarks for professional excellence. His heavy topspin and baseline dominance forced competitors to adapt, making him one of the most technically advanced players of his era. Lendl's influence extended beyond performance. He demonstrated that strategic preparation and scientific approaches to training could define an entire generation of players. Andre Agassi revolutionized tennis in a completely different way. Charismatic, marketable, and intensely powerful from the baseline, Agassi combined athleticism with showmanship. His ground strokes, return of serve mastery, and aggressive positioning challenged conventional styles, inspiring a shift toward baseline dominance in both men's and women's tennis. Agassi also became a global ambassador for the sport, attracting younger audiences and increasing tennis's visibility worldwide. Players like Michael Chang demonstrated that tactical intelligence and mental toughness could level the playing field, as his French Open victory at just 17 proved. Women's tennis during this era also underwent dramatic transformation. Steffi Graf's Golden Slam in 1988, winning all 4 majors and Olympic gold in a single year, set a new standard for excellence. Monica Seals's aggressive two-handed style introduced a level of power and intensity that pushed the women's game into a faster, more athletic era. Graf's speed, precision, and all-court versatility contrasted with Seals's raw power, creating an era of dynamic rivalries and raising expectations for fitness, consistency, and mental strength in women's tennis. Pete Sampras's dominance in the 1990s underscored the importance of strategic variety. His serve and volley expertise, particularly on grass, and his ability to maintain remarkable consistency across surfaces set him apart. Sampras demonstrated that combining physical skill with tactical intelligence could define a player's legacy. Meanwhile, Agassi's baseline mastery proved that mental toughness and adaptability could challenge even the most dominant serve and volley players, highlighting the growing importance of versatility and endurance in the modern game. Tennis had evolved into a global year-round sport demanding physical endurance, mental resilience, and strategic preparation. It was a period of transformation, bridging classical styles and modern athleticism, setting the stage for the next generation of champions who would redefine longevity, consistency, and technical mastery on a worldwide scale. Transition era. The transition era in tennis bridged the gap between the dominance of older champions and the emergence of the Big Three. This period was defined by an evolving style of play, where baseline aggression, mental toughness, and physical conditioning became critical. Lleyton Hewitt, Marat Safin, Gustavo Kuerten, and Patrick Rafter began to challenge the established stars, introducing a mix of power, precision, and strategic intelligence. Their rise signaled a shift from serve and volley strategies and defensive play to more dynamic, all-around performance that emphasized endurance and adaptability. Hewitt's relentless energy and defensive skills allowed him to outlast opponents, despite not having the towering power of future stars. Safin, on the other hand, blended raw power with flair, creating unpredictable and explosive moments that could dominate matches in bursts. Kuerten brought exceptional clay court mastery, showcasing that surface-specific expertise remained a key factor. Rafter and other serve and volley players still had their moments, but the era increasingly demanded baseline consistency and the ability to construct points over long rallies. On the women's side, the Williams sisters began to reshape the game entirely. Venus and Serena's explosive power, athleticism, and mental toughness made them nearly unbeatable in critical matches. Their influence pushed other players to elevate strength, speed, and shot-making, accelerating the evolution of women's tennis. Beyond power, the sisters' strategic play, mixing aggression with well-timed defensive maneuvers, set new standards for competitiveness, inspiring a generation of younger players who would later dominate the modern era. This era also saw the introduction of sports science, better training regimes, and improved fitness programs. Players increasingly focused on endurance, flexibility, and injury prevention, understanding that long-term performance required more than talent alone. Courts became faster in some locations and slower in others, demanding adaptability and sharpening tactical approaches. Players learned to combine patience with aggression, balancing shot selection, footwork, and mental focus to navigate diverse conditions successfully. The transition era laid the groundwork for the Big Three's dominance. It created a competitive environment where young players had to adapt to evolving strategies, demanding consistency, stamina, and innovation. International competition increased as emerging talents from Eastern Europe, South America, and Asia began to challenge traditional powerhouses. This period transformed tennis into a faster, more physically and mentally demanding sport, elevating standards across both men's and women's competitions. By the end of this era, tennis had become a global spectacle, prepared for the modern age of unparalleled skill and rivalry. The Big Three era. In the early 2000s, specifically starting around 2003, tennis witnessed the emergence of three players who would come to dominate the sport for nearly 2 decades: Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. Each player brought a unique style, strategy, and personality that fundamentally altered the way the game was played and perceived by fans worldwide. Federer, who first captured global attention with his 2003 Wimbledon triumph, combined fluid elegance, precise footwork, and an uncanny ability to finish points at the net. His adaptability across all surfaces, from grass to hard courts, and his relentless consistency
set a new benchmark for professional excellence and established him as nearly untouchable during his peak years. Rafael Nadal emerged with an intense, high-powered style, particularly around 2005 when he won his first French Open at just 19. Nadal's ferocious topspin, unmatched court coverage, and mental toughness earned him the moniker King of Clay. His repeated battles with Federer became defining moments in tennis history, illustrating a compelling contrast between Federer's elegance and Nadal's raw, relentless power. The duels between these two players captivated global audiences, elevating tennis from a sport to a theatrical spectacle full of tension, drama, and unmatched athleticism. Novak Djokovic entered the professional scene slightly later, making his breakthrough around with a style characterized by incredible flexibility, unmatched defensive skills, and an unshakable mental edge. Djokovic's ability to absorb and redirect opponents' power, combined with precise shot placement, allowed him to consistently challenge both Federer and Nadal, creating one of the most competitive eras in tennis history. Together, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic did not just win titles, they redefined tennis itself. Their rivalries pushed the sport to new levels of physical endurance, tactical sophistication, and psychological resilience. Fans tuned in not merely to watch victories, but to witness artistry, raw intensity, and strategic brilliance unfold on the court. By elevating the sport's visibility, competitiveness, and entertainment value, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic established a lasting legacy that continues to define modern tennis, proving that talent, dedication, and rivalry could simultaneously push the limits of human performance and capture the hearts of millions worldwide. Players developed diverse shot repertoires, mixing power, spin, and angles to outthink opponents. Serve and volley strategies declined while aggressive baseline play dominated. Women's tennis also evolved, with Serena Williams and Victoria Azarenka emphasizing strength, movement, and mental resilience, creating a fast-paced, physically demanding style. Looking ahead, tennis will continue to adapt to new technologies, training methods, and global trends. Each era, no matter how dominant, eventually makes way for fresh talent and ideas. This cycle ensures that the sport stays dynamic, competitive, and thrilling for both players and fans. Understanding the history and shifts in tennis eras not only honors past achievements, but also frames the possibilities of the future, keeping the game alive and ever evolving.